He began by instructing me about the pipe's holes, the stops, he called them, and the way to shape my mouth around the blowing end, how to shift my fingers, how to make different sounds. Reluctantly, I took up the recorder and with fingers like soft clay tried to play. What came out were sorry, shallow squeaks. You see, I said, I can't do it. I offered him back his pipe. Refusing, he railed at the top of his voice, threatening to inflict upon me every kind of grisly torture if I didn't try. At first, his shouted warnings terrified me, but as the day wore on, I realized he was mostly bluster. While I didn't doubt he could have done the ghastly acts he threatened, it was but a rough kindness. The more I realized this, the less tense I became. Gradually, I found my way with tongue, fingers, and breath. Before the day was half done, I managed to pipe out his simple song. There, you've done it, he cried out when first I did. Tell me you didn't hear it too. No one was more amazed than me. To think that I, with my breath, could make a song thrilled me deeply. I wanted to play it over and over again. Bear only made me work harder. Then, as I played, he began to strike his drum so as to keep the proper beats. It was mid-afternoon and I was playing when something different happened. Before my astonished eyes, this enormous man jumped up and began to dance. Holding his large hands up, pumping his knees high, prancing, his great red beard flapping, his two pointed hat bobbing this way and that, the hat bells jingling, he was like one possessed. Though a giant, he appeared as light as a goose feather in a swelling breeze. I was so taken aback at the sight, I stopped playing. Now you know why I took you on, he said with a grin. It took a moment for me to fully grasp his meaning. He wanted me to help him. Play, fool, he yelled. That's the point of it all. Excited, I resumed, continuing to make music while he paused to scoop up his leather balls. For now, as he danced, he also juggled. Then, to all of this, he added singing. Lady Fortune is friend and foe, of poor she makes rich and poor also, turns misery to prosperity and wellness into woe, so let no man trust this lady who turns her wheel ever so. Finally, he stopped. Panting, he thumped me on the back and said, There, Crispin, my young and foolish, soulless saint, you see what we shall do. While I perform my revels, you shall pipe the tune. I promise it shall bring us pennies of plenty, and we, the bear and his cub, shall prosper greatly. His words made me grin. At this, Bear thrust his hand aloft. "Oh God!" he cried. "Look upon thy miraculous gift! This wretched boy has given the world a smile." That night, as we made ready to sleep, Bear informed me that on the following day we would reach a village by the name of Burley. "It's only 2 leagues from where we are, an easy walk," he said, "and on the main road to Great Wexley." Bear's news about the morrow made me very nervous. Since I had left Stromford, the only person I had been with was him. But I said nothing. He would, I feared, only mock my worries. Instead, when Bear was asleep, I went upon my knees and with my lead cross in hands, prayed. "Blessed St. Giles," I whispered to the cross, "let me play the music well. Let me be a credit to my master. And I beg thee, let me have a soul, that I too may sing and dance like Bear. And St. Giles, do not let him betray me." Chapter 27. Next morning we set off at dawn, and soon were trudging along the dirt road. At that place it meandered along among low hills, so that we never had a clear view very far. Only through the tree breaks did we catch glimpses of open fields. We had been going a little while when Bear abruptly halted. "What's the matter?" I said. "Look," he said, pointing to the sky. I saw nothing but a flock of wood pigeons swirling high above some ways beyond where we were. "The pigeons?" I said. "They're agitated by something." "What?" "We'd best find out," he said. "Stay close." Straightway he lopped off the road, and I followed. He led me into a small spinney, ample enough to hide us from view. Once there, he spied out. Without speaking, he pointed toward a hill some ways across the nearest field. When I nodded my understanding, he ran toward it. I kept close. Upon reaching the base of the hill, he dropped upon his hands and knees. Motioning that I should leave the sack behind, he began to crawl toward the hill crest. When he reached it, he pulled off his cap, then lifted his head just above the summit. After gazing a while, he turned slightly, beckoned me closer, and whispered, "Look, but be careful not to show yourself." Cautiously, I raised my head. What I saw before me was the road we'd been traveling on, but somewhat farther along. At a place that had been hidden from our view was a small plank bridge spanning a river. Some 12 men were loitering about. A few were sitting on the ground. Others stood by the bridge. All were armed with swords and longbows. It was as if they were waiting for someone. Among them was one I recognized. "There!" I whispered, my heart pounding. "It's John Aycliffe, the steward of Stromford Village." Bear looked at me, but in a different way than he had before, then at the men again. After a few more moments, he edged back. Pulling at my arm, he bade me follow. We went part way down to a hill to a place where we would not be seen. Once there, he sat in silence while I waited anxiously for him to tell me what to do. "Crispin," he said with the most solemnity, "mortal men are never perfect. In my life I've done things I'm ashamed of, things that the all-seeing God shall see emblazoned on my soul. You said they proclaimed you a wolf's head because you stole. You deny you were a thief. It's not for me to punish you. God awaits. But I must know the absolute truth. By all that is sacred, did or did you not do what they said you did?" The way he spoke distressed me. Even so, I only said, "No." He sighed and shook his head. "I believe you, but it makes no sense. They should be glad you fled. At best, you're a nuisance. Why are they searching so hard for you?" He wondered out loud. "And why should they think or care that you're headed for Great Wexley?" "How do they even know?" "This is the only road," he explained. "Have you anything to say to this?" "I told you they would come after me." "You were right. I should have listened more. But, Crispin, there must be something more here, more than you know." Whatever satisfaction I had in hearing him admit that I was right paled when I saw his alarm. "What are we going to do?" I said. "We'll go no farther along this road," he said. "That's certain. But I must go forward. We'd better strike across there," he said, pointing beyond the fields towards some outlying woods. "It'll take us away from those men and your steward." Without further ado, he rose and marched off with great strides. I rushed to keep up, more than once looking back. As we went along, I kept thinking how Bear had noticed the birds, which allowed him to see the soldiers. If I told myself I was to stay alive in this new world, I must learn such skills as he had. The sooner I learned, I told myself, the longer my life.